What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another player ratings video, and today we are covering the 5-1 victory against the Lion City Sailors yesterday. We've got a lot of players to get through, so we'll start off with Vicario. I gave him a 6, Brian gave him a 5. Really didn't have much to do. The only thing he did was take the ball out of the back of the net, and he did a diving header on the edge of his own box. Other than that, it was a very quiet day for him.
Exactly. That's why I've gone with 5 straight down the middle, because he really wasn't tested apart from that one incident.
Easy day for Vicario. Next up, we've got Pedro Parra. I gave him a 6, Brian gave him a 4. Didn't get into the wide areas as much as he did, I felt like, against West Ham. Very much concentrated on him being in the half spaces and in the inverted areas. I thought he did okay without doing anything special. His passing was a bit erratic, but hopefully that will improve with time.
Yeah, I just do not see him as a right back. He's a right winger for me and needs to be competing with Kulu. He just looks so out of position there, and I just didn't really see anything to warrant anything more.
Next up, we got Cuti Romero, and we both gave him 6s. I personally thought he was the one kind of being very aggressive, as he usually is, stepping into midfield and stopping a lot of the Sailors' attacks before they even started. Obviously, he didn't have a lot to do when it came to defending, because the majority of the game was played in the Sailors' half. But I thought the defending he did a decent job.
Yeah, that's it. He was the best defender on there. It's good to see, especially after he came out and made that statement recently. And hopefully we see more of it.
Next up, we've got Ben Davis. Both gave him 5s. I don't think he covered himself in too much glory with the goal. And actually, we did mention it as well, Porro for the goal wasn't particularly good. The marking was bad. Again, didn't have too much to do. He played a lot of the game in the Sailors' half. Did support the attack a few times with a few crosses from the inverted spaces when required, but wasn't too involved.
Yeah, completely agree. You said, like I said, he didn't cover himself in glory, but do you know what? Some of this ain't his fault, because he's still there and having to do that. But wasn't his best day in a Spurs shirt.
Next up, Destiny Udogie. I gave him a 7. Brian gave him a 6. Got forward really well. Was constantly getting to the byline and causing problems, and causing the Sailors defenders problems on the left hand side. He did the Sailors winger did cut inside him and get the cross on for the goal. I wouldn't say it was totally his fault, but he did allow the cross. But again, I think he showed his quality on that left-hand side, albeit we didn't manage to create too much, unfortunately.
That's exactly why I'm 1 mark down from you, because of the build-up to the goal. But going forward, he looks ultra impressive, doesn't he? He's just power and pace and strength is just something that I can't wait to see more of.
Next up, Yves Bissouma. I gave him an 8. Brian gives him a 7. I thought he controlled the game really well. I thought when he was on the ball, he was making things tick, always looking forward, passing between the lines. And I like that progressive passing. I think he controlled the game really well. And I think he's getting more and more used to the number 6 position under Ange Postecoglou.
Not only just the number 6 position, we're seeing what he was doing at Brighton, aren't we? He's got in a role where his manager's got confidence in him, a role that he knows very, very well. And he's had a great few games. So, yeah, very happy with that performance. Next
up, Pape Matar Sarr. I gave him a 7. Brian gives him an 8. He did win the penalty, which led to Tottenham's equaliser on the stroke of half-time. I thought it was a pretty impressive display. Again, he did hit the bar as well with a really rasping shot on the edge of the box from a volley, which was decent, albeit he did have a couple of other efforts from outside the box which weren't as good. But I'm really impressed with his driving, running, his growing confidence, it seems. And I think in the number 8 position, he's really growing into that role.
I can't stress more how impressive this kid is to me. I think he's going to be some hell of a player. And to think, after that Milan game, you would have thought you'd seen more. But he's come into pre-season, a new manager, and his 2 performances, I've been ultra impressed with him. He is definitely, for me at the moment, our first choice midfielder.
Wow, first choice. Next up, James Maddison. Both gave him 7s. A better display than the one against West Ham. A lot more involved. I think he must have taken about 5 or 6 shots during that game. A lot of them from outside the box. Had a really good chance to score with a chance that was, I think, Bissouma set him up. And it was, or maybe it was Sarr, but it was just around the penalty spot. Fired it straight at the keeper. But it was nice to see him buzzing around, picking up the ball in really, really good areas. Getting into the box as well. Creating chances. Looking to score. Obviously didn't get on the score sheet, but I thought it was a much better display.
Yeah, let me just say, with that Pape Sarr, I meant in that position, not first pick on the midfield.
Oh, right,
in
sorry,
that position, before people go wild. Yeah, do you know what I found with Maddison today? It seems like that extra time in training and everything is starting to to bond relationships on the pitch and everything. We know the quality he's got, and a good performance by him.
Next up, Dejan Kulusevski. I gave him a 7. Brian gave him a 5. Big difference in the ratings here. And for me, I actually thought he was a constant threat down the right-hand side. I thought he was constantly beating players. I was really impressed with his close control and his ability to get into the box at will. Unfortunately for him, a lot of the time it was on his right foot, and that led to the final ball not being the best of quality. I thought on the times he did get onto his left foot, he did look a lot more dangerous. But I was really impressed with his ability when going wide to either create an opening or dribble past a player and create the space that way. So I was quite happy with Kulusevski.
Listen, I love the play, but I think there's some wonderful touches in there, but for me, he's just become so predictable. You know he's going to cut in. Listen, this is the position he's playing, and he wants to use this left foot. But you just know what he's going to do before he's got it. And I just think he struggled a bit.
Fair enough. Heung-min Son up next. We both gave him 5s, and I thought he did struggle, to be fair, on the left-hand side. Maybe it's because, maybe it's due to a bit of rustiness still coming back from injury. It is his first pre-season game. I just don't think he looked comfortable on the left-hand side totally anyway. Whenever he had opportunity to take people on, he tried, but wasn't able to do it consistently. I just think his biggest attributes are his ability in front of goal, and you can't really maximise that attribute when he's playing on left wing. Not to say he can't do that role. There were a few times he got to the byline and whipped some good crosses in, but I just don't think it's the best use of Sonny.
Yeah, I can see where you came from. Like you said, I think what we've got to emphasise with this is it was his first run out this season, and then obviously we know he had the injury last season. God knows how much he was carrying over when they came back to pre-season. I think he'll develop, and we'll see a better, obviously, than we did last year, but it wasn't the greatest performances.
Next up, we have Harry Kane, 5s all round. He did score the equaliser on the stroke of half-time with a good penalty, but that was on the periphery for a lot of the game, to be honest. Out of all the forwards, he was probably the one least involved.
Yep.
Did have that chance near the beginning of the game with a volley, which was skewed wide, unfortunately. Other than that, didn't have too many other opportunities, which was disappointing. Maybe with the fact that in this game, potentially, he was actually trying to stretch defence a bit more than he was against West Ham, and that maybe that leads to him being less involved, and maybe that is a problem. So it's something we do have to sort out. But yeah, Kane, part of obviously good penalty, but wasn't a great display.
Exactly. It's I can't really say much more than you said. You hit every single nail on the head. It's one thing I will say we take from Harry Kane. Please God, he's still here come the end of the window. Whether it's a bad pre-season or a good pre-season, we know he'll score when it matters. So. Nothing to worry about at the moment, but it wasn't the best performances.
Next up is the second half team now, and we'll start with Brandon Austin. Again, I gave him a 6, Brian gave him a 5. I think he had even less to do than Vicario, who had the first half. Didn't even have to pick the ball out of the net. Barely had a touch from any goal kick or any sort of save. So easy, probably his easiest day at the office.
Yeah, completely. That was. I cannot even recall him touching the ball. I think he touched the ball a couple of times, but yeah, it was just nothing to do. So straight down the middle.
Next up, Emerson Royale, 6s all round. Emerson Royale, so I should say that again. 6s all round. I thought he was decent. I think he looks comfortable when he's inverted and trying to keep possession. When he's playing it safe, that's when he's most comfortable. Keeping it simple passes, not doing anything too elaborate. He's kind of the yin to Porro's yang in a way. Porro likes to do elaborate things, crosses in the box, taking people on. I think Emerson's at his best when he's just doing very simple things and maybe maximising better players. And maybe that's where his value comes.
You mean no look passes?
Exactly.
Listen, since that Fulham game, he's been a different player, and I feel, I feel a lot more comfortable with him at right back than I do Porro for sure. And 6.
Next up, Eric Dyer. I gave him a 6. Brian gave him a 5. I just thought he had some nice passes from the centre-back position. He was getting involved a bit. Was actually supporting the attack on a couple of occasions, but not much to say because he had no defending to do, so it was an easy day for him.
That's why I've gone with 5. So I was watching it and my thing kept freezing, so I couldn't see parts of it. And
Dyer's never moved so quickly.
Actually, I couldn't tell if it was frozen or if it was real. So yeah, I just went straight down the middle.
Next up, Javed Tanganga. I gave him a 6. Brian gives him a 5. Similar to Dyer. In fact, probably a bit less involved than Eric Dyer was. Not much defending to do. Just kept the ball ticking around. Simple day.
Yep. Can't say much more than that. Really was a simple day for him.
Next up, Sergei Reguilon. I gave him a 7. Brian also gives him a 7. I actually thought He was very involved, linked up really well with Lo Celso and Perisic on the left-hand side, got to the byline a few times as well. Some really effective cutbacks to create some chances. Was lucky he didn't have Jarrod Bowen going the other way this time. I do feel like he does struggle a bit when he becomes inverted as opposed to some of the other fullbacks. I feel like his style of play is not perfect for it, but I think he's adapting a bit, and he definitely looks a lot more comfortable when he's either underlapping or overlapping onto the byline.
Yeah, that was a much better performance from him, wasn't it? After the West Ham game, coming back after a season-long loan and a long injury layoff, it was good to see something from that, because we were thinking we're Sessegnon out, and who's going to be our left backs? Obviously, Udogie will be the first one, but that was a much more reassuring performance from Reggie.
Next up, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in the 6th position, and we gave him 6s for that as well. Was a pretty comfortable display. I don't think he was as controlling as Yves Bissouma. I think his passing was pretty good. I think Bissouma's long-range passing was a bit better than his. He didn't do it too much, but I actually thought his passing into central areas was quite effective, and it led to the likes of Lo Celso and Ollie Skip getting in nice spaces. But I just don't think he controlled the game as well as Bissouma did.
No, you're right. You're pretty much stealing all my lines.
Sorry.
No. Great minds think alike. Højbjerg, listen, you know what you're going to get with him, don't you? And it was, like I said, an easy day for him.
Next up, Ollie Skip. I gave him a 6. Brian gives him a 5. I thought it was a decent day, but again, wasn't too involved. Didn't take too many touches on the ball, which is a shame. Tried to get in the box, but a bit like Kane in the first half, of all the midfielders, he was the one who was just a bit on the periphery. Yeah.
You look at. I want to see him try and be a bit more adventurous. You know, and just he's so vanilla. And there's nothing wrong with doing it, but in games like this, when you've got the chance to express yourself and do things different, I just wish he would have taken it. So yeah, that's why I gave him that mark.
Next up, Giovanni Lo Celso. We both gave him 8, and that follows on another impressive display from last game against West Ham, where he really showed his quality. Ended up on the score sheet yet again, was setting up chances at will on that left-hand side, linking up with Perisic and Reguilon really, really effectively, finding all sorts of pockets of space, was heavily involved in the first goal as well, with a shot that was blocked and it falls to Richarlison, who ended up scoring. Was probably unlucky not to get another goal himself as well. I was happy with him. I thought he was a really effective display, and the reports of Ali Gold is saying that apparently Lo Celso seems like a new man this time back at White Hart Lane, and he seems more outgoing and more part of the group. So looks like there might be a chance of him sticking around.
Yeah, well, you've got to look at it. He's come back and he's got to grab his opportunities, or show that there is something there for us, because obviously he's a player that we're unsure of where he is or where he even thinks he is. And he's grabbed those opportunities, hasn't he? Scored in both. Been very, very... he's been included and pulling the strings in both the halves that he's come on. So yeah, he's done very, very well. It's been a good pre-season for Gio.
Out on the right wing, we've got Manuel Solomon. I gave him a 7, Brian gave him a 6. I don't think he looked as comfortable out on the right as potentially does on the left. I feel like he prefers to cut inside and shoot rather than get to the byline and pull crosses in. He did end up getting a kind of half assist with one of his pullbacks being directed into Lo Celso's path, but I felt like his crossing is not his strong point. I think he's much more effective when he's dribbling and is able to go both ways. I felt like he was only able to go one way because he's cutting inside as opposed to on the left. He's either when he's on the right, he can only really get to the byline. He can't, when he's on the left, he then cut inside or go to the byline. Yep. So he did okay. I thought he did okay, but I don't think it was overly impressive.
No, I think also we're talking about Manuel. His first game, everyone was so impressed with him. And then obviously he's come on in the second half and didn't have that kind of impact. We know what he's capable of. We know what he can do. Main thing is him apparently integrating very well in the squad, isn't he? He's doing integrating very well, and I'm expecting big things from him this summer.
Definitely. Next up is Richarlison. I gave him an 8. Brian gives him a 9. Did have the ball in the net 5 times during the game, but only 3 of them counted. Obviously, the first two, in all honesty, were complete gifts. Yep. Especially the second one, which pouncing on a mistake from the defender, which a weak back header, which obviously he made took full advantage of. The first one was a volley that fell on his lap, and he just had to get it on target. Third goal was a nice finish, nice touch beyond the last defender, and a nice little dink finish into the corner. And actually, his two best finishes were probably the ones that were disallowed, unfortunately for him. The kind of volley in the box, reminiscent of his World Cup goal, and then a really nicely finished header into the far corner, which unfortunately was both ruled out from offside. Other than that, he did have other chances to score, which he wasn't able to hit the target with. A lot more, was very involved. One thing with Richarlison, whether he's going to be scoring or not, he's definitely involved a lot, and he's definitely putting himself about, making himself a nuisance. And hopefully this hat-trick will give him confidence.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I can see I could just witness people screaming at the screens when they saw that I gave him a 9. The reason I've done this is when you're a striker, whether you're on form or off form, your job is to go score goals. And it doesn't matter who the opponent is. He's got a hat-trick, which probably do the world of good for his confidence. Like I said, the great thing is he's getting involved. I think holding that line when we're pressing and everything, he's going to get a lot of chances. And we know that he was missing a lot last season. Scoring a hat-trick, no matter who it's against, is going to give him a lot of confidence. And the striker scores a hat-trick, I give him a 9.
Next up, we have Ivan Perisic. I gave him an 8. Brian gives him a 7. Again, another good display for me from Ivan Perisic, following on from a good second-half display against West Ham. I thought he was a constant menace down the left-hand side, not just with his crossing, but also with his link-up play, playing Reguilon down the line and Lo Celso many, many times. I thought non-stop. He was non-stop throughout the whole half. And I'm pretty happy with both his performances in pre-season, considering he looks likely to leave.
Very, very much so. And you just seen that last season when we were using him as a wing back, we couldn't get the best out of him. We've seen in 2 halves with him playing up top the night and day difference in the positions, and his crossing has been incredible. You all know it was. And you know what? I want him to stay right now as an option for that wing, because if he comes off the bench like that, it can have this kind of impact. His crosses could be vital coming the season, but we'll see if he stays.
Next up is Ange Postecoglou. We both gave him 7s. For me, obviously, we won 5-1. Let's be honest, the opposition was not much opposition, albeit in the first half maybe they upped their game a bit, but in the second half they were just so error prone, it was ridiculous. I didn't feel like there was as many combination plays as there were against West Ham, which was a bit disappointing, especially in the first half. Although we had lots of shots, we didn't really apart from when like Maddison was able to have a bit of quality, I didn't feel like we were able to link up with each other as often as I'd like. So that was a bit of a shame, but we still obviously had lots of possession. I still like the football that we're playing. Obviously we've only seen 2 games, and he's had a lot of changes. He's only had 45 minutes of each team, so it's hard to judge but I definitely see where things are going. It's going in a good direction, but I just didn't feel like, even though we lost to West Ham, I felt like it was a more impressive display.
Well, it's crazy. I think it was 27 shots on goal we had yesterday.
I think we had more than that, 37.
So let's say it's 37. That is 69 attempts on goal in 2 games.
Yeah.
I think that's more than the second half of last season. When you think about it, it's ridiculous. And for a man to be, all right, it's a weakened team now in West Ham, but for a man to change an entire team's philosophy and get them to play this way, yes, it's pre-season, yes, it's half games. I'm really excited for Ange. I really, really am liking what we see, and the team are responding well to him, aren't they? So what he's doing well, and hopefully it will be a very successful season under him, and I can't wait.
All right, well, that's your player ratings for the 5-1 victory against the Lion City Sailors. Let us know in the comment section below if you agree with our player ratings. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.